Welcome everybody to this after action report of my Beat-Away Combat Robot Microflash. I'm Jason, the creator of Team Rocket Robotics, and I competed with this guy on November 3rd, 2018 at the Motor City Massacre 2, which is in Livonia, Michigan. It was a competition for fairy weights, which I believe are 150 grams, ant weights, which are 1 pound, and beetle weights, of course, which is this guy here at 3 pounds. Now, a total of 5 beetle weights showed up that day, and because of how things worked out, there were about 4 fights per person because there's only 5 robots in our class. So we did have a bit of a round robin setup to play against everybody else. Now at the time that I'm recording this video, the fights are not available online. I will go ahead and put some links in the show notes of this video when that does happen, but I have no idea when that's going to occur. It's up to the guys running the event and not me. I actually didn't shoot any video that day. So let me just talk about the first opponent. Was his name Balor? Apparently something stands for some sort of Irish demon creature thing. That's something, whatever. He was a vertical drum robot, but this particular robot was basically being assembled that morning. So I guess the builder ran out of time. And the fight was basically about 10 seconds long because his wheels fell off. I did actually get a chance to use the weapon a little bit. And I've got a photo here I can show you of my weapon cleaving into his 1/4 inch ultra-high molecular weight polyethylene armor. So it was a short fight, but the weapon did actually do a fair amount of damage, which is really pretty cool. And I ended up winning in a knockout probably in about 15 seconds. And that brings me to the second fight. Now this was against a robot called Phantom 2. He's the current reigning champion, at least going into the event. He was the reigning champion of the Motor City Massacre. Another horizontal spinner. Also a very powerful weapon. Mine was about 1 ounce less than his. His, I think, it was 8.5 ounces. Mine's like, what, a little over 7 ounces, something like that. And it was a heck of, let's go in, just fly into each other, do damage, and see who comes out alive. And after the initial hit, we disabled each other's weapons. It turns out, let me go ahead and actually turn my front of my little spinner around here so I can hold it up with the camera. His horizontal blade was pretty much right about at the level of that little timing belt pulley there. That was a Fingertech Robotics timing belt pulley, and it just smashed into it. And because of that, it knocked off my timing belt and crippled the pulley and basically disabled my weapon really close on. But that impact sheared his weapon bolts. So it did its job, and it didn't completely disable his weapon initially, but it severely hampered his performance. Every other time throughout the fight, as he tried to get his weapon spinning up, I would just charge into him and just shut it down once again. This particular event at 2 minutes, pits open up depending on driver's choice. In this case, we had both pits open up. Actually, well, both pits were supposed to open up, one didn't. Regardless, however it happened, unfortunately, I got a little bit outmaneuvered, and what cost me the fight were these little drag blocks. So let me bring it in here closely if I turn to the side. They're beaten up now, but these are 3D printed little drag blocks, just so they are the things that roll along the ground. And because of them being blocks, what happened is the robot went to the edge of the pit, got stuck, and I couldn't back out. And well, he pushed me in the pit, and I lost by knockout. Third fight then was up against Snowfire. This was a vertical drum spinner. I probably foolishly charged straight into him, into which, once again, he disabled my weapon. I only had one of these sprocket things, so I was able to repair it a little bit between fights, but he hit it once again, and did a little bit more of the bendy up damage to this thing. So this thing was not really working very well by the end of the third fight. What happened? Oh, yeah, so we went back and forth. I kept charging into him and doing damage to him. He had actually lost a motor very early on in the fight and could barely demonstrate linear movement, but he wasn't counted out for it, so I just kind of kept smashing into him and see how it went. Eventually, we got stuck on top of each other, got separated, and somehow he got around to the side of me, probably hit one of the bumpers, flipped the robot up, and I got stuck on the side like this. Well, you know, is leaning a little bit like this, but I got freaking stuck on the side here, and well, that's going to be a count out, and that's how that one ended. The fourth fight was against a robot called Wedge of Allegiance. It's a wedge bot, as the name would suggest, and I had the weapon running. It ran for about 15 seconds before I think what happened was these little notches here from all the damage it took cut the timing belt ripped off. So it became myself pushing around a wedge bot, which of course, wedge bots are designed to push things around. I'm not, so it didn't go quite well. But with about 1 minute before the pits open up, maybe 30 seconds or so, I kind of started playing a little bit of mind games, the whole StarCraft thing, kicking in there. I would charge at him, break around, go up by where the pits were going to be. He'd charge after me, and I'd dodge out of the way. So kind of practicing to see if I could actually avoid him. And it turns out I really could. So I kind of kept that strategy up. And when the pits would open up, I finally went ahead and I feigned kind of getting set up for a charge at him. He charged at me. I dodged out of the way. He went into the pit, not entirely, but to the point where he had no control. And I just gently drove up behind him, nudged him in, and I took him out in a knockout. So all in all, at the end of the Motor City Massacre, I went 2-2, which, hey, that's actually tripling my entire career win total. Way back years ago when I used to compete with this in the NERC, I won one match with Mini Flash. One match, because the other robot was worse than mine. So to get actually one legitimate win out of this against Wedge of Allegiance was pretty freaking cool. So I can't wait to rebuild this guy for the next event, which right now is tentatively scheduled in April, but who knows, we'll see how things go. Let me talk a little bit about what I'm going to do for the second version of Micro Flash here. There'll probably be a whole other build series I'm going to start working on once I get around to working on that particular project, which will probably be pretty shortly. It's just so much fun building this guy. It was a heck of a lot of fun competing. I'm going to have to do it again. So very briefly, what's probably going to happen, I am going to go ahead and probably reduce the amount of aluminum. This structure is way over-engineered. Phantom 2, who's the most dangerous robot there, couldn't hurt it. I mean, Snowfire did a little bit of nicky damage to the front here. Nicks, that's what I'm trying to say. But for the most part, the aluminum frame is complete aluminum frame is overkill. I'm going to have some aluminum frame in the front to support the main weapon area, but in the back, I probably don't need a whole lot of aluminum. Same goes for the motor pods here. I'm going to have to go ahead and make those a little bit lighter weight because I want to transfer about, do some math in my head, that's 200, 250, probably 250-ish, extra 30 grams. Probably somewhere in the range of 150 grams from somewhere else going into the weapon and battery. So a bigger weapon motor, bigger weapon, and a bigger battery. I should mention, because one of the flaws of this robot's design, which didn't come into play because the fight was either too short, my weapon got taken out really fast, was that I only had about 2 minutes of effective weapon power. If I ran my weapon for more than 2 minutes, I would run the risk of running out of battery power for the end of the fight. But I probably didn't even run the entire weapon for 2 minutes. In all reality, it probably saw less than 30 seconds of actual action across 4 fights. So it didn't come into play, but that was a potential serious issue. So I'm going to be upgrading the batteries, giving them about a 25% boost in capacity. And also then modifying the weapon to use some sort of bearing to reduce the friction around the spinning bar here. That'll also reduce the load on the weapon motor, therefore use less energy. Now right now, it doesn't spin very well because it's had the crap kicked out of it. But even before, it wasn't the best in terms of low friction here. So I want to improve that as well. But anyway, that's enough talking about this robot for now. Like I said, there will be another YouTube series here as I rebuild this sucker. Of course, you can watch me live over on twitch.tv as I begin that process. That's twitch.tv/RoccoRobotics. And I will go ahead and I'll put the links in the show notes down here once I do find out if all of the fights are live. In fact, actually, there'll probably be a little pinned comment. I can do that, can't I? I can put a little pinned comment in the video, and you can find the fights there as well. So, once again, I'm Jason, the creator of Team Rocco Robotics. Thanks for watching this build log, and hope to see you guys in the second season.